Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast, brought to you in part by Prize Picks. Use that promo code HMA and get $50 of free lineups when you use it, and sign up with a $5 lineup of your own. Today on the show, we're going to be joined by Kirk Henderson of Pod Maverick of Mavs Moneyball, friend of the show, friend of me personally, and Luka Doncic fan. And we're going to be kicking off. The series of Lakers in review that we're going to be running through the end of the playoffs and as we get ready for the offseason and stuff like that. Harrison brought it to my attention late in yesterday's episode that this is like asking somebody's ex to review their new relationship. So my bad, Kirk, for putting you into that situation. But other than that, Kirk, how you holding up?
I'm okay. Basketball's been over for me for a while. I did not watch a single game of the first two rounds of the playoffs, which is not great considering I also work for a company called Offside, as you do. And it was hard to, a little hard to do basketball takes. You're not watching any basketball, but conference finals were fun. And I'm really getting into the draft. There's a lot of draft. I did my team and I did a mock draft last night where we randomized teams that we took. We just did it. We were 5 guys and we all were GMs. And what I learned last night is starting at either pick 5 or pick 9, the draft is going to be insane because the Thunder have 2 picks and the Hornets have 2 picks between picks 11 and 18. So 2 teams have 4 picks in a 7-pick range. These are going to get really odd. So after the finals are over, there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about still.
There really is. I've had a blast with these playoffs. I thought that Spurs Thunder series was really fun. And it was really fun to watch the entire country turn on OKC, and sit on the right side of history there. I couldn't believe that I found myself rooting for the Spurs, a franchise that I have hated for most of my adult life, but the Thunder were just that annoying. When you're really annoying, you kind of turn people off. So
and they're at that point in their own building cycle where Wemby is not regularly dominant in a way that becomes fucking frustrating. He is in game, he's still quite dominant, but anybody that's older like me and you would remember, I think, was it 2002 or 2000, where I think it was 2000, where Shaq essentially had 33 and 15. For was that the 15-1 season? Was that
the second season? Was the 15-1?
That's season. The one I'm thinking about. So that's 2001. That run was what people that don't believe it's go watch. Shaq was destroying everyone and got bored and they lost a game. That's all. That's the only reason. The Lakers got bored and they lost a game. And so it's when you're watching Wemby right now, there's not that level of just game to game. And so they have enough guys that are fun. Dylan Harper he's not a revelation because that would imply that we didn't know, but to watch what he's doing right now in this context is really amazing. I look forward to hating the shit out of them, but I don't right now.
Yeah. I the other day I saw it was a graphic that some teenager put together on Twitter that was comparing supporting casts that guys have had over the years, and they were talking. I'd have to find it, but I'll send it to you whenever I do. But the graph had supporting casts that Kobe has had over the years, and Shaq was one of the names on one of the supporting casts. And I was
amazing.
Absolutely not.
It's not a slight to Kobe to be Shaq was the best player on that team. It's okay.
Peak Shaq was the best basketball player I have ever seen.
Nobody,
the most dominant basketball player I have ever seen, and he was not a member of the supporting cast.
and just like Shaq, there's this Wemby's going to cause guys to get drafted that wouldn't have made it to the NBA. Yeah, there's this. Am I allowed to curse in this?
Yeah, go for it.
There's this fucking guy out of Italy named Luigi that's 7'4", that's gonna be an early second round pick. And you're gonna look at this guy when you see, you remember our conversation, and he's the goofiest looking fucking dude, and he's gonna get drafted because he's 7'4", because he could, in theory, cause Wemby problems. That we had whole teams of people like that. Go look at the Mavericks roster in 2000. They had 8 guys 6'9" or taller to try to guard Shaq. 48 fouls that they wanted to get.
Not I was gonna say not guard Shaq, foul
him. Yeah.
It was not to guard him, it was to foul him and send him to the free throw line. It was peak Shaq is just a whole nother deal. And like we are now far enough, like the early aughts are now 20 plus years ago. And we are now at the stage where you and I can be like grumpy old men and tell the kids like I'm sorry, Shaq was just different. But anyway, that's not what we are gathered here to talk about. We're gonna sit here and talk about Luka's season, and what the Lakers are going to be trying to do to build around Luka, and hopefully compete with Wemby and with OKC and with whatever other teams are going to come up through the ranks over the next few years. Also. Quick reminder, as always, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Please turn on notifications for the show. Please turn on notifications for YouTube so you get the notifications for the show. And then if you guys are listening to the show in the morning via podcast, please subscribe wherever it is that you get them, preferably on Odyssey, but I truly do not care. The season that Luka had, I thought was really interesting. It was excellent. He averaged over 35 points a game. He led a team to a 16-2 record towards the end of the season as the Lakers mounted that kind of comeback late. And then unfortunately got hurt there right at the end of the season with an injury that held him out just long enough that he had to miss the postseason. And yet, if you hear people talk about him nationally over the course of the year, it was always what he couldn't do and what he can't do, what he isn't doing. And it was really funny over the course of the season because I would get kind of annoyed by that. And, whether it was you or Doyle or whoever it was, and I would share those frustrations. They would say, yeah, for whatever reason, that's how people talk about Luka. What do you think's going on there?
In terms of how the media talks about Luka, everybody's just kind of sick of him. I mean, they're sick of him. And when you go to an even bigger media market and you get the kind of constant attention, that's just sort of the crux of it. Honestly, one of the things that I found like very annoying, and any of my former Maverick compadres that now follow the Lakers and maybe follow Fred here, well, I don't want to piss you off with this, but it's like when SGA was shitting the bed, and he kind of did in game 6 and 7, not great, not his best performances. You have all these people out here wanting to talk about Luka. Luka never did this and that, and there's an element of basketball that the narrative structure of it where I think it really serves guys to go away. LeBron James has never once learned this. He's never gone away. The reason so many people are frustrated with him as a concept is he has been in my life on a daily basis for 25 years. Yeah. We're pushing 25 realistically. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so the people who love him,
because he was there like high school. Even before he got to the league, it was like a constant conversation about LeBron. Yeah, it's a good point.
It's crazy. And Luka going away, not really being part of the playoffs, mentioning that he's not going to play with the Slovenian national team, which is a complicated thing, but realistically very good for his body. Him just going away for a long period of time is going to serve his narrative structure very well. People who hate him will not stop hating him, but the element of we forgot how good this guy is capable of being is going to be a big factor heading into next year. The season this year for Luka was a fairly standard one, if I'm honest. He played really well to start the year. He got hurt at a frustrating time, carried the team during the doldrums, but not enough to really win. And then came back late, gangbusters, just absolutely, throwing fireballs left and right, only to kind of get hurt. I mean, he got hurt before the Western Conference Finals run with the Mavericks in 2022. He got hurt in the playoffs against who was it again? The opening round series for the Mavericks in 2024. He gets hurt because of how he plays. Soft tissue injuries are a bitch. I don't want to make excuses for him here, but this to me was
he
actually
dealt with that also against Minnesota. He didn't look like himself in the Minnesota series 2 playoffs ago.
And I think you got to kind of build that in. That's sort of where I'm heading with this, and that you have to build that in, and they have to do a better job of taking care of him. I'm not sure how though, but I will say to me, this was a very standard season in which he reminded people late March and April just how good he is. It's very frustrating he got hurt against the Thunder in the way that he did. But also, I think in terms of where the playoffs are going, I think this allows people to just sort of forget. Because in my take is out of all the superstars, including Wemby, SGA, all of these, Luka Doncic is capable of higher highs and also lower lows than any of the other superstars. It's just the way it goes. And I don't say that as criticism. It's just who he is. I've watched him since he was 16. We're going on 11 years now. It's okay. Maddening. I wish you had grown up in certain ways. I wish you would have lost weight earlier. But the experience, particularly for folks who watch, this is the thing, and I'm rambling too long. I apologize. The experience of watching Luka Doncic on a night in, night out basis is really something else, because it's and I wondered, I was in college at this point, but I wasn't watching the Lakers nightly. I was in Los Angeles in 2006. I feel like Luka on a night to night basis is what that feeling you got, comparable of like watching Kobe in 2006 when you're like, oh, is he going to go for 45 tonight? Yeah, so competitive and so capable of like, oh, Luka's got 21 in the first quarter. I got to turn on the TV. And there just aren't many players in the NBA that does that. I know everybody likes SGA, and that's fine because he's an MVP caliber player. I know folks like Jokic, but there's not the first quarter. Oh, I'm going to turn on the TV because look at what's happened. I see the notices on my phone. So that's a lot of Luka talk for me in one sentence there.
Well, so I want to. All right, so there's a few avenues we could go off of there. We could branch off of that, and I'll try to hit all of them. First off, the point about his you know what? No, let's start positive. To me, what really kind of turned his season around was his ability to shoot threes and knock down threes. And it just opens up everything for him. And you're talking about, with the, Luka first quarter scoring benches that he would go on. They always feature a couple fuck you 3-pointers, right?
Every time. Yep.
And if he hits his first couple, you're like, ooh, okay. All right. But to the other point that you made, those off nights that he has almost always feature 1 of 9 from 3-point range, and he just keeps firing and he keeps firing and he keeps firing. And eventually you're just like, hey man, try
something else.
Shot. Yeah. Let's get something going to the basket. And what I was really kind of, most impressed by over the course of the year was actually, I thought, some maturation in terms of his basketball game. He picked up his final tee that he could before he got suspended or could get suspended. And he shut up. He stopped talking to the referees and he started talking to his, instead of the referees being his outlet, his teammates became his outlet. And he started talking on defense, and he started being kind of this more positive presence, I thought, within the confines of the game. And I thought it was by far the best version of Luka. And I really find myself wondering if he also noted that in looking back on this season. But I'm not saying one led to the other. I think the bigger issue or the bigger reason that his season turned around was his improved 3-point shooting. But I also thought that just I don't know, we're now old enough and aware enough of ourselves of like, or, to be able to notice, all right, I'm being kind of crabby today. I need to stop focusing on whatever it is that I'm focusing on and just like be a better person to be around. And it like impacts everything around us, and I kind of felt like we saw that from Luka. Do you think that's something he could note after a year like this season?
I mean, I think part of that has to be the relationship between him and JJ Redick. Because one of the things I will say is that in Dallas, if you read Tim McMahon's book, and I really recommend it for all Lakers fans, like you really should read this book. There's an incident that happens within the first month of Luka's rookie season where he lost, like Rick Carlisle lost Luka. They played together for 4 more years. But on a personal level, he burnt a bridge very early on. Carlisle is a notorious asshat. And I think he went too far and didn't understand something. And he really kind of drove a wedge between Dennis Smith and Luka, which is like Luka didn't appreciate it. And I say that to be the next coach they brought in was Jason Kidd, and Jason Kidd is a fucking snake, and also a coward.
And now unemployed.
I'm sure he'll get hired by somebody soon because he's good at getting hired. But he never had a direct conversation with Luka about anything. Like you could just tell. And they might have had casual conversations, but they never had serious conversations. Like Kidd knew where his bread was buttered and wasn't interested in challenging Luka. Occasionally through the media. And I'm sure maybe you could tell, hey, Kirk, there's things that happen from behind closed doors.
No, I remember it was fairly early on in Kidd's tenure. He like just straight up said Luka needs to stop bitching to referees. And I was like,
he's right. But
you could talk. He was right, but I don't know if that's how I would go about that. Yeah.
And I think that Redick, having played a half season with Luka, had some insight into that because Redick is a dick. I mean, it's he was uncoachable,
He's the Duke guy.
Yeah. And there were things that happened to him at Duke that I think looking back on now, he's able to say and use that because, younger audience members may not believe this, but like Redick was a Luka level prospect in college in terms of just attention, maybe not raw talent, but
agreed.
Like the whole, like he was hated by America, and loved it. And like, there's just gotta be like, there's some relatability factor there. And one thing I think Redick that works both for and against him is he really says what's on his mind all the time to everyone. And so I believe the stuff he says in the media, he also says to Luka. And at a certain point, you as a player, if you have authority figures in your life, just as a human being, you either have to take their advice or that relationship needs to end. And you're not going to fire Redick halfway through Luka's first full season. And I think that some of the things maybe might have started to stick, whether he wanted it to or not. Whether that carries over, it's hard to say. The season is so long, so long, and having veterans that will redirect you as a person. Like, did you see
Vanderbilt?
Dylan Harper got grabbed. Who it was? Somebody got fouled really bad by Alex Caruso in Game 7, and went to the ground. It's like the one where he was pulled down. I can't remember who got fouled. But Harper goes down and grabs his teammate and bear hugs him and essentially prevents him from going at the ref because they called it a common foul. It might have been Castle, but it was one of those plays where you go, oh, that. And frankly, I think Luka needs more of that. You need to get somebody to be like, God damn, get out of my face. That's fine because Luka doesn't care. He'll it's competitive stuff, but getting out of the refs' faces and that sort of element. Not doing this. You can't see my palms. I always tell my kid this in basketball. I'm like, if I see your palms, you are toast. Because that means at that point you're making an excuse for something. And that's one of Luka's biggest challenges is just you got to focus on what's at hand. There's too many plays in basketball. Too many mistakes happen. Turn the page and move ahead.
Ironically, because I don't think he's going to be a Laker next year, that guy was Vando. There was that clip of Vanderbilt standing up, and I don't know if you saw it. JJ and Luka were kind of going back and forth. Luka's walking to the sideline, and he goes to turn because I guess JJ had said one more thing, that got Luka to turn back towards him, and Vando stands up and just starts clapping.
Yeah, I saw it. It was fun. And
yeah, it was incredible. Like Vando was just like, nope, you cannot get by me. I'm gonna clap right here. And now, unfortunately, like I said, I don't think Vando and JJ are a mix basketball wise. And so I don't think Vando is going to be on the team next year. But that guy was kind of Vando this season on a couple of occasions. Yeah, I agree that, like, you know, somehow, some way, the Lakers are going to have to kind of have a Luka whisperer vet around at all times. And by the way, that's a perfectly fine use of a roster spot. You know,
sure.
Udonis Haslem there in Miami for a long time, and Jared Dudley there for the Lakers when they won the championship was that guy. And now it's, you know, we'll see who that guy might be here with the Lakers moving forward. Luka's shooting, is that just like how this is going to go based on your experiences, right? Where, you know, he's either the hottest man on earth, or you're begging him to, you know, get something going to the basket?
Yeah, I think it's just who he is. I know that there's some national reporters that very much say Luka needs to get other guys involved earlier. And, you know, maybe that's what a Kawhi Leonard does, probes around, and if shots aren't there, he's going to come back to it later. Luka's strength is getting going early. It just is. It's who he's always been. And would you like to see a little bit different of a shot diet? Absolutely. I do think that changes if you get a different role man. But you know, I think that's a big part of this. And, you know, because Luka does like Luka likes making the pass. That's one thing always drives me nuts when I hear people say, oh, Luka's first instinct is the score. Scoring's easier for him in the NBA than it was in Europe. He said that over and over. He's like, it's easier for me to do this stuff. So, because there's a lot more contact. And so I think that you just kind of live with it. And, you know, there's going to be nights where it looks awful. There's going to be quarters where it looks awful. But then every now and again, you're just treated to the Showtime element where it fits the uniform and it fits the moment and it's otherworldly. And, you know, looking at his age, he's 27, turns 28 next February. You get about 3 years of this, I think, with his body type. I think he'll be good till he's 35. But I think that, like, that changes. He doesn't want to play forever. He's already mentioned that. But I think you sort of live with it and just go from there.
You kind of touched on, I think, probably the most important factor. Like I kind of framed this episode in terms of headlining it and writing the description out, at least for now, as far as like what can Luka do to get better. But I actually think a more prescient question is, or a more pressing question is what can the Lakers do to help Luka get better? And you noted the center spot. There's been a hot debate basically since the season ended as to whether or not Austin Reaves and Luka as a pairing can work. And then obviously the Lakers need to, whether it's for Luka or just in general, need to get more athletic. Where would you start in building a roster around Luka, addressing the center spot? Do you think Austin can work there, or do you think the Lakers need to get more athletic before they work on any individual position?
It's so
across the roster.
It's so hard. It's so hard. I've been thinking about this ever since Luka was traded, because free agency is effectively dead. Trades are going to be weird, and the Lakers don't have a lot of assets. And the draft is not a viable tool for the Lakers at this point. It's not to say you can't get a good player, but like if the Lakers were to take like Koa Pete 25, he doesn't do anything for the Lakers. He just it's not to say he's not good or couldn't be good, but he doesn't do anything for what you're trying to build next year. I personally prefer the center out approach. Here's why. I watched Luka with hilariously bad centers from 2020 or 2018 to 2024. Derek Lively was a gamble in that playoffs, or in that 2023 draft. And then they picked up
Gafford.
And so those two combined were better than all the other centers the Mavericks had. And I don't want to include Kristaps Porzingis in that per se, because he was more of a stretch five than the rim rolling center.
Mhm.
I don't think you can put a value on an incredible rim roller playing with Luka. The
And
number
rim
of
runner,
rim runner, yes. I
both
mean,
like
if
both of those. Yeah.
yes, both of them. Because look at the Mavericks as a team, and I cannot remember the number, but in the playoffs, heading into the finals before Boston, at that point, I think had more dunks than any team in the playoffs in history up until that point, because Luka was just throwing dimes to those two. And
Yeah.
you think you think about the spacing of an NBA game, and I'm sure your buddy Pete would be better explaining this than I ever could be. But Luka slices and dices and sees the floor from a horizontal level, the guys in the corner better than just about anybody in the game,
Mhm.
largely due to his size. LeBron James
He's
can do the
big.
same
Yeah.
thing. When you add the added element of the vertical threat, it opens up that stuff even more. And
Yeah.
frankly, the teams that were guarding the Mavericks in that 2024 finals run made the decision to we're going to guard these 3-point shooters. You can have the dunks. And as useful as brand new, I guess he's not brand new Slovenian anymore, but of your what's his name? My name's
Hayes.
Liz.
Jackson
As
Hayes. Yeah.
he made Hayes functional. That's pretty impressive. Hayes
Mhm.
was kind of heading out of the league, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And Luka had done that with guys. I mean, the one that he really couldn't do it with was JaVale McGee, and he had JaVale McGee exiled almost immediately because McGee was annoying. But the cadre of centers that flew through Dallas, that's why I just think, and I'm just going to put this out there. Now that it's a new front office, I think the Dallas Mavericks would be willing to trade with the Lakers for a Daniel Gafford. That
seems
old
like
front office could not
the
do it.
page is turned. It
Yeah.
seems like that like based on some of the stuff that I've heard that like the Mavericks are kind of like, all right, Masai's here. Masai, by the way, has a good relationship with the Lakers at one point.
Sure.
Was wanted to work for him, all that stuff. But yeah, the Luka thing, you're a Star Wars guy, right? You like Star Wars?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's always weird how like their fights, which take place in space, always happen along the same axis,
Sure. Right.
And I feel like at some point Luka would have come along and been like, hey guys, we can go like down and up too, right? Like we don't have to stay here. And that's kind of what he does to the geometry of a basketball game too, where he's just like, we can go up. And I think he really, like you said, made Jackson valuable. And like the way that I've gone about making the point that you're making here too is by saying that like when DeAndre Ayton was at his best, the Lakers were always at their best.
Yeah.
And that always told that indicated to me that if the Lakers are going to be the best, or if they're going to put together the best roster around Luka that they can, it has to feature a center who can play at least at the level that Ayton was playing at when he was, good in those moments, more consistently than Ayton was able to.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that like just in general, like with today's NBA and because of how stellar centers have gotten over the years, you have Wemby, you have Jokic, you have it's just like the center position has now all out of nowhere gotten crazy good. And I think the Lakers need variety at that spot. And Luka also really benefits from, like you mentioned, Kristaps Porzingis and how he's not obviously in the same category of player as Gafford or Lively because he's more of a stretch five. But it was also beneficial to have Kristaps spreading the floor for Luka as well. So I think that's something that the Lakers would need to do. A rim runner and then also an anchor defensively is something that they need. What do you think of the Austin Luka pairing? Oftentimes, I think it's kind of lazy when people do this. But Austin gets compared to Kyrie, and it's like if Kyrie and Luka can work, why can't Austin and Luka work? What do you think of that pairing, and do you think that's something that will work out longer term?
I like the pairing, and I have no problem with it. I think that the longer term thing, and there's a couple of Luka adjacent influencers that might stab me in the throat for this one. What is required of Luka if Austin Reaves is going to stay, and if the Lakers are only going to be able to improve like marginally, is Luka has to play the kind of defense I saw him play in like the last 20 games. Because he did. He played really good defense. Luka is a brilliant basketball player. He is not super fleet of foot, but he is smart and he knows how to play.
He's really smart.
And he is capable of being an average defender. And that's enough because he's huge. And Reaves is the one who can't play defense. Reaves is physically incapable, I think, of playing good defense. He's 6'5". How much do we think he weighs? 190 pounds. Like, Luka's a fucking brick. He weighs 265, if like at minimum. And a guy like Luka isn't going to get pushed around. His strength is one. His literal strength is one of his strengths. So I think Reaves.
Quick aside, I'll never forget. I actually made the trip to Dallas for Luka's first game there.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so like it was so funny because he was in the visitors' locker room for the first time, and he had walked into the locker room just slightly after everybody. So like we are all, I forget which scrum we were in. It might have been LeBron,
right?
We're all facing away from the door that you come in from the hallway. And Luka walks basically behind the scrum. And I'll never forget turning around and looking and realizing he blocks an entire doorway, a whole doorway. Like I just look up and I'm like,
this does not come across in television, but most NBA players are very slight. They are thin. They are athletic. That's why Shaq is so freaking big. And Luka is the same kind of broad-shouldered big. And that gives you a lot to work with defensively. And I just think expecting Reaves to be better on defense, he's just not physically capable. He's not. Offensively, he can hang tight. So if you're going to have understanding that there's going to be a weak point on the offense or on the defense, it would have to be Reaves. Because and that's how those two stay together is Luka. But I mean, I think the offensive pairing is really fantastic. That's a great comment from the chat. Big people are so big. It's like I saw Tyson Chandler in person once, man, and he looked like Slender Man. He didn't look like a real human being. And you're like, wait, this guy stopped James at the rim repeatedly in 2011. How did he do that? And it's just it's a funny thing. But that's sort of my take on that pairing is that like for it to stay together, Luka has to play high level defense. But honestly, that's sort of a comment on Luka moving forward to where if he wants to be an MVP caliber player, he just has to play better defense. He can't be a one-way player.
What did you think of the MVP conversation surrounding him this year? Like
same thing. Like you said, this was like one of Luka's better seasons. Luka's season in 2023-24, he was 34, 10, and 9. And he did not win MVP and didn't come close. I don't think Luka will ever match that. And if he can't win MVP, then he's never going to win MVP. He's just not well enough liked. The only thing that could really happen for him is if he goes away, like I said, and then really plays a season of bullshit free basketball. And I just don't know if he can do that. He also can't take off January and February. Like that's really what's happened is if you look at his numbers and wins and losses, the Lakers did this nice thing this year where they stacked wins in the part of their schedule with LeBron out when they should have been winning. The Lakers get hosed on the schedule every year because people want to watch them after the football season is over. So you have this post like February 1st schedule where all of a sudden the Lakers SOS is like one of the worst because they have to play Denver 3 times. How did that happen? And so that's really where he needs to win in the doldrums. And that's where he's just not ever done it. I mean, ever. And then he comes on late so hot. It's just like you got to play more consistently. That's how he wins MVP.
I thought this year people had kind of made their minds on him before that 16-2 stretch. And then, we come to find out afterward too, that like you have Bill Simmons just like proudly saying, they considered him eligible for the award, but I didn't. And it's like, oh, okay, well then cool. But the other thing that I wanted to say about Luka's defense, it was funny. I saw this, very online debate about Tim Duncan's defense and how it was like, Tim Duncan was an excellent defender, but he wasn't like fly out of nowhere, block your shot. Like he was just incredible positionally because he was a genius. He was a basketball genius. And he made everything look boring, but he made defense look boring because, he would understand where he needed to stand to gum up a play. And then he would just kind of like absent-mindedly take 3 steps and put himself into that position. And I feel like that's the kind of defense that Luka, given his size, given his basketball IQ, should be able to play. I'm not expecting him to go out on an island and lock down Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm not expecting him to, take a shit ton of charges or anything like that. But just be the kind of defender who, like, while you're watching the game, you just realize, man, their offense just doesn't seem to be humming at the level that it needs to. And it has a lot to do with the fact that, like, these fulcrums of offenses, modern offenses, are just taken up by this 6'8", 260 dude who knows to stand there. Yep. That's all I'm kind of asking.
Sure. I get it.
The other thing that the Lakers really need to improve on from a roster perspective this year was something that the Mavericks, I think, did an extremely underrated level, which was they assembled a whole bunch of athleticism that also, knock down shots in a time, in big spots, right?
Sure.
PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., even Tim Hardaway Jr. was a good athlete, like what did the Mavericks figure out there? What do those guys kind of have in common that made them as successful as they were on Luka teams?
Well, that Mavericks particular team build was very rangy. A lot of bigger athletic players, and then they sort of had a hope and a prayer with the shooting. And part of why I focused on the center position earlier is I believe most NBA players are actually quite good at shooting. And I know that sounds like a stupid thing to say, considering it's like we watch it every night. But when the playoffs come around, those shots where it's like 6.5 feet of distance become 4 feet of distance in terms of the defender being nearest to you. Mm-hmm. And Luka just opened up a lot of space for guys. I mean, PJ Washington had one of his best seasons with Luka. Derrick Jones Jr. effectively got paid by the Clippers because of Luka. The Mavericks had hoped to pair like Najee Marshall with Luka to get, the similar kind of looks. And Najee obviously only played very little with Luka during the 2024-25 season. But I think if like the center position works, then that opens up everything else. It's kind of like the running game in football, where it adds that little element of space for the rest of these potentially good shooters. Now the Lakers did have some pretty incredible shooting seasons from some of their guys this year, and I really enjoyed watching the games that I did. But I just think some of that was just like shot difficulty, and like you obviously want to get guys easier shooters. So I think if you're sort of looking to rebuild that element, if the center position hits in a useful way, where it's like, okay, you keep your guy that you have now. Let's say they do trade for like Daniel Gafford. How does that affect everything else downhill? And it's worth asking, because I think you can then get away with having guys that may not look the best on paper. Because I mean, Derrick Jones Jr. was the 15th guy the Mavericks signed, and he was a starter in the finals. That's the Luka effect. Like, that's just what happens with guys who are unlocked in particular roles, because all they have to do is thing X, which is like catch and shoot, go here, drive, dunk. I mean, that's what made Ayton so damn disappointing, because he just wasn't interested in doing the easy stuff. In some cases, hard stuff, but it's what worked with Tyson Chandler in 2011 with the Mavericks. It's like, if you roll the rim over and over and over and over again, you're eventually going to get a huge dunk and a huge moment and help seal the game for us. And like, Ayton just never bought in that way.
Yeah, I mean, most telling quote of the year from Ayton was, "I'm not Clint Capella."
That's crazy.
Like, what are you doing, man?
Clint Capella's had a better career than you.
Yeah,
like maybe not the same amount of money, but like, people are going to remember Clint Capella as a guy that outplayed his potential, and people are going to remember DeAndre Ayton as a guy who never lived up to his.
Right, exactly. All right, I want to segue over to in the last stretch here of the show to your Mavs, because I think they're like super interesting. I guess I find them a really interesting team, really interesting organization at a bit of a crossroads that I think can help or will impact the rest of the league depending on like the direction that they take here. While Jason Kidd was there, while Nico Harrison was there, they were just, for whatever reason, laser focused on competing in the now. We'll just wait and see whenever Kyrie comes back, and we'll just wait and see whenever AD comes back, and we're going to see what this team looks like and all that stuff. And obviously now Anthony Davis is in Washington, and Jason Kidd feels like he's heading towards Portland, and Nico Harrison is wherever he finds himself. The Mavericks, though, like, fortunately have kind of leaned into the Cooper Flag timeline. I think Derek Lively fits that timeline. I think Max Christie fits that timeline. The only guy who is still there who doesn't seem to fit that timeline is Kyrie.
There's a lot of guys, actually.
Yeah, I guess there's
a lot of guys.
They
have a veteran
guy who doesn't. Yeah. So, like, do you think we'll see a fire sale of some of those vets to really kind of embrace Cooper's timeline, or do you think they'll continue pursuing playoff competition now?
My sort of take on what the Mavericks should do is that they should be as competitive as possible. They have the Hornets on their 2027 pick. So it's top 2 protected. So I guess there's a chance they could get a draft pick, but they need to play the season like they don't have a draft pick. So as a result of that, I think they should be as competitive as possible while also being a way station to help other teams in terms of taking on bad contracts, things like that. Their salary cap looks pretty good right now. PJ Washington is starting an extension at a reasonable price. Daniel Gafford is starting an extension at a, depending on your opinion of him, okay price. It's like a 3-year, $60 million one. It's like $20 million a pop. Kyrie Irving is starting year 2 of a deal that pays him about $40 million a year. He's probably the hardest to move in my opinion, because like, how the hell do you assemble $40 million worth of salary? 40 is a weird number relative to the way guys make money. Guys make money in the $15 to $22 million range, or $65 million a year range. Like, that's sort of, and then like very bottom of the barrel. That's kind of all we got now. And then there's guys like Najee Marshall, who's on the last year of his deal. He was very important to the Mavericks last year, but he's like 28. Kyrie is going to turn 34, or if he's not 34 already. Gafford's not a young man, but not an old man, but sometimes big men age like bananas left on the countertop. PJ's probably, in my opinion, the guy with the most upside. He was a really fun player, right guy on the right team. Like, he's a very excellent 4th player within your roster. So I don't know what happens here. Obviously they're only married to Flag, which is as it should be. But I do think that given Kyrie's reputation around the league, they sort of go to him and say, what do you want? Because he's not hurting anything. And really, he is a truly breathtaking player to watch regularly. Yeah. I didn't understand it. Like, I knew he was good. I'm not an idiot. But it's like you watch the night in, night out stuff, and like he's just
like artistic.
Yeah.
Some of those artists out there. Yeah.
Like, that's where like the Kobe comparisons in terms of like must-see television, I get it now after having watched parts of it. Like, do you remember the left-hand sweeping hook he made over Nikola Jokic to win a game? Like, who does that?
Yeah.
So I sort of kind of hope I hope they keep him. I want to watch like good games. I watched Cooper do stuff, but they shoved the ball into Cooper's hands and were like, good night and good luck. And Cooper is not yet. Maybe he could be, but I don't want him to be heliocentric. I want him to be a play finisher. Like, he is such a violent finisher at the rim. I've never on a team I've watched my entire life, the closest player that I've had is 2014 Vince Carter. The Mavericks have never had anyone that dunks like this guy. I guess they had Gerald Green for a while. Everybody had Gerald Green for a while. He was fun. But like this dude,
somehow the Lakers were the only team that didn't have him for a little while.
There was a play. They played the Bucks like within the first 20 games, and they lost this game to the Bucks. but he took it into Giannis's chest for an and one in clutch time. Like Cooper rules. So I want him like attacking the rim with just like, it's just violence all the time.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what I'm looking forward to. I don't know what they could be. It's going to be weird. This draft is the fact that they fell from a potential 6th draft pick to 9th really fucking hurts. And I'm very angry about that. But then again, they also got Cooper the year before. So I should probably stop my complaining. So that's just sort of where I said, yeah, no, I agree.
Is there any chance whatsoever Max Christie could be available? Because he's like, so. I really miss Max Christie.
The Max Christie experience has been milquetoast. He plays so hard.
He needs Kyrie. He needs a ball handler.
He does. He also is really bad at movement shooting, is something I've learned. Like catch and shoot jumpers, boom.
Yeah.
Attacking the rim, pretty good. Coming off screens and moving when he's off balance, eat. And also for the past 2 years, this is, I think, just a conditioning thing. He is in like the Mavericks history books for his first 15 games because he was amazing. And then he just died. And it was because I don't think he had ever played that much basketball before. And then the same thing happened this year where he played a ton and then all of a sudden was just done. I think he is in year 2. Maybe he's going to be entering like the final year of that extension the Lakers gave him. I could be wrong about this. But he's on a very team-friendly deal. He's the kind of player that'll get another very good deal because he's not played out of his mind so much to like demand like a full MLE or something like that. But he's good. He was a good player. His defense suffered a little bit, but the Mavericks also didn't have any defensive principles. Their defensive principles were like let the other team score. It was very rough to watch. But I know Lakers fans really miss Max Christie, and he was doing well there. I think to somebody's comment in the chat, I do think he would actually benefit a ton from someone like Luka. So.
Oh yeah. The Max Christie thing is funny. I obviously, just like you're not going to complain too much about lottery luck because the Mavericks got Cooper Flag, but like maybe the least self-aware tweet I've ever sent was saying how if there was only way that like the Lakers could have kept Max Christie in the Luka trade, and the number of people who were like, shut up. And I was like, yeah, fair point. Because, but I don't know. He's the guy. I know Lakers fans are always very focused on the centers that Dallas has, whether it be Gafford. I don't think there's a world where they could get Lively. But Gafford is often the guy that Lakers fans are kind of zoned in on. But I'm really like, I really believe in Max Christie, and he plays an important position in that, like, he can kind of sort of guard point guards. He can kind of sort of guard shooting guards. And that versatility matters. All right. Anything that you want to plug before we get you out of here?
I did mention this mock draft. I know Lakers probably aren't interested in anything draft related right now. I wouldn't be either. But if you happen to be a draft head, we just did this 90-minute mock draft last night on Pod Maverick that made me laugh out loud repeatedly, just because there's so many weird things. I mean, only 24 teams have a first round draft pick. There's a lot of drafts out of 30. So it's like, 1/6 of the league doesn't have a draft pick in the first round. So there's just the potential. And like the Thunder have too many picks. They have 2 picks in the first round. They're not rostering 2 picks. There's just so many odd things that could be afoot. And I sort of am really looking forward to that and just sort of seeing what happens. I don't really have anything to plug. My brain's been like kind of broken. You know that like personally we rescued 2 puppies and like just chaos. So
youth movement in the Henderson household
really.
as it pertains to puppies.
like a toddler under 3, 2 puppies, just idiocy everywhere in my house. It's great.
Yeah, Jen, every time I say like, babe, can we get another dog? I really want to get another dog to keep Callie a little bit younger. She's like, no.
Dog is good. Puppy is tough. Getting like a 4-year-old dog that's gotten through the puppies is really good for other dogs. But the puppy element is like, it's just a shark. They can't help it. And they shit everywhere. Awesome.
So do sharks,
That's true.
technically.
All right. This has been fun. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank you very much, Kirk, for hopping on. Again, this show is brought to you in part by Prize Picks. Using our promo code HMA and play a $5 lineup to get $50 worth of those lineups for free. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow.
Yep.
Bye, everyone.